considerably longer than I need. So trim, enter, and I'm just going to kind of pick these things apart. So I should get those guys, and then I'm just going to delete these chunks because I don't need it. So I should trim to get these slots. I'm going to dump these over on my center layer now just because they don't really matter for a little while. So from here, I need the next circle, right? So here they're telling me that this guy, this outer one, there is a center circle again that is going to be 6.5 diameter. So I'm going to lay in a circle diameter 6.5 from the center. And that should give me something that looks like that. And they also tell me that I need this diameter 8.456, this one that's way out. I'm going to put this outer one on my, I can't really see it that well back there, but 8.456 I'm going to dump on my center layer. And the reason for that is because it gets confusing. People think that it's like a thing I need. So just know that that's living over there for a little bit. So from here, you're kind of looking at this, and I hope you can start to see what I'm really drawing here is I'm drawing one of these little dudes, one of these paddles. Okay? And if you kind of start to see it develop, I have this line here is this upper one. This line here is this lower one. You see that? And then this portion of the circle that I'm going to keep is actually going to be that little chunk, the top and bottom. Okay, so as you're seeing this kind of start to fall together, that's the dissection of what I'm doing here. So I don't keep very much of that 6.5 circle at all. I only keep those little ears, that one there and that one there. You guys with me? No? Where did I lose you?
When you said duck.
3 weeks ago. No, just- offset you did 1.1, oh, sorry, I screwed up. The radius, the two lines coming off the circle was 0.25. You just basically split.
These guys.
Yeah.
So what I
Well,
did,
you offsetted line.
yeah. So what I did here is I did a circle. I did a 0.25 circle here. See that?
Yep.
0.25 there. And then you can offset this one. And offset 0.25. And I just went above and below.
0.25. Got it. I was 1.25. That's right.
Yeah. It's, that one gets a little confusing because the last couple of drawings we've done, plus we've done, half of the distance to the offset, so. All right, so at this point, the circle that I kind of have out here, this one I dumped on my red layer, is going to be really important here for a second. So that one, if you remember, we put out at the diameter 8.456. If you don't have that, this next part is going to get a little tricky for you. The other part of this that's going to be important to notice is that they give you this 22.5 degree angle. Okay? And what they're telling you is that this line, if you can kind of think of this line right here, is actually halfway between the 45 degree angle that I have. Okay, so my 45 degree angle was here, right? And what they're saying is that halfway between 0 and 45, I need to put a line. So that's the 22.5 degrees. So I'm gonna move this dimension, this 22.5 degrees, I'm gonna move it up here. I hope you don't get confused by that, because no matter where you draw it, it's the same angle, right? It's still half of 45. They've drawn it down here so that they can give you the 45 degree angle up here, but regardless, it splits this shape in two, okay? So it doesn't really matter where you draw it, just know that it's 22.5 degrees. So I'm gonna get a line, and I'm gonna go from the center, and I need a line, remember, that's halfway in between here. So my 45 is my red, my 0 is my red, so I need one that's right about there, right? So if you notice, what's gonna happen here is as I scroll, my angle, my dynamic input angle is giving me a degree. But back down here, I can actually lock in different degree angles, right? So I was at 45, 30, 23. You can see that I have a bit of a problem here, right? I don't have a 22.5 degree. But there's also at the bottom of this guy, this tracking settings. And you can actually input your own. So again, it's that polar snap, fly up or drop down, or whatever you want to call that arrow. And then I'm gonna go to tracking settings. And I can go into this guy once I have this dialog box up. You get that, Sam? I'm gonna go to this little dude right here at the bottom. Tracking settings. It's gonna open this dialog box, and I can hit the increment angle. So it's currently 45 or whatever you used last, right? 30, whatever. But if I hit that little guy, you're gonna notice that all of the angles that I chose were in there, but the addition of 22.5 degrees. So this comes up from time to time, right? Like you set something at 45, and now you need half of that. So I'm trying to tell you that this thing lives under here. Now, the other thing you can do is you can make your own angle here. And again, that doesn't really come up a lot, but let's say that I needed one at 12 degrees. Every 12 degrees I needed a line for whatever reason. I could input, I could hit new, and I could add a 12 degree angle. whatever, okay? So increment angles live under the drop down. If you wanted to do a custom angle, you could hit new and you could add your own for whatever reason. I'm gonna choose 22.5 degrees because that's what I need, and I'm gonna hit OK. And you're gonna notice here that it's now gonna shoot me a line. Now the confusing part about this is it's gonna tell me that it's 23 degrees, right? But again, you could double check this by going down here and going to tracking settings, and it is 22.5. And that's the really weird part about this. And this is an evolution. So 2 years ago, under AutoCAD 2014, this would say, this is crazy, you're gonna laugh about this, but this is the programming, right? You're gonna notice that there is an angle, and there's also my dynamic input where it says polar. So the polar used to say 22 degrees, and the dynamic input would say 23 degrees. They'd actually argue with each other right there on the screen, and they couldn't determine that. So they've cleaned that part of the programming up, and they've just rounded it. Okay, so it is 22.5, but it will round to 23. And I'd love to tell you why, but I don't have a good answer for that. So we're gonna put a line there.
Just click or enter.
Yep. Okay, so you've messed all that up because you were listening to me ramble. I'm gonna click from the center. I'm gonna make sure that this thing says 22.5 degrees. Okay, and then I'm gonna drop this dude in where the snap, where the tracking line gives me that green direction. So you should get something like that.